or book or show gets your blood pumping in the moment of consumption, sure. I covered my eyes in Squid Games with the rest of the world, but for the most part, you rest easy afterwards knowing that what you've witnessed is fiction, deliberately spun up to creep you out. When the real world gets eerier than anything Stephen King could dream up, that's when you have every right to get a little scared of the dark. Once in a while, a story of a dreadful disappearance, demonic possession, or devil worship will land in the local paper instead of a pulpy old paperback. The Axe Murder House. The Villisca Axe Murder House in Villisca, Iowa, is a well-known tourist attraction for ghost hunters and horror lovers alike. The site of a gruesome, unsolved 1912 murder in which 6 children and 2 adults had their skulls completely crushed by the axe of an unknown perpetrator was purchased in 1994, restored to its 1912 condition, and converted into a tourist destination. It cost $428 a night to stay in the old haunted home, where visitors always report strange paranormal experiences such as visions of a man with an axe roaming the halls and faint screams of children. But in November of 2014, the haunting took a darker turn. Robert Stephen Larson Jr., 37, of Rhinelander, Wisconsin, was on a regular recreational paranormal visit with friends when true horror struck. His companions found him stabbed in the chest, an apparently self-inflicted wound. Larson was brought to a nearby hospital before being helicoptered to a medical center in Omaha. The Montgomery County Sheriff's Office said Larson suffered the self-inflicted injury at about 12:45 a.m., which is around the same time that the 1912 axe murders in the house had began. Larson recovered from his injuries, but has never spoken publicly about what occurred that day. For Martha Lynn, the owner of the house, the incident was very upsetting. It's publicity, but it's not exactly the kind of publicity you desire to have. I don't want people thinking that when they come to the Villisca Axe Murder House, something's going to happen that's going to make them do something like that. The house remains open for tourist visits and overnight stays today. The Haunted Doll. When you think of haunted dolls, it's likely the creepy old Victorian-looking porcelain kind that springs to mind. None of which you probably have lying around. Still, don't get too comfortable around any kids' toys too soon, though. A Disney's Frozen Elsa doll that was gifted for Christmas 2013 in the Houston area made headlines earlier that year when it seemingly became haunted. The doll recited phrases from the movie Frozen and sang "Let It Go" when a button on its neck was pressed. For 2 years, it did that in English. But in 2015, it started alternating between English and Spanish. There wasn't a button that changed these, it was just random. The family had owned the doll for more than 6 years and never changed the batteries. The mother says the doll would randomly begin to speak and sing even when its switch was turned off. The mother says the doll would randomly begin to speak and sing, even with its switch turned off. The family decided to throw the creepy doll out in December of 2019. Weeks later, they found it inside a bench in their living room. The kids insisted they didn't put it there, and I believe them because they wouldn't have dug through the garbage outside. The mother told KPRC2 Houston News. At that point, Elsa ceased to sing the English rendition of Let It Go altogether, speaking only in Spanish when pressed. The family then double-bagged the bizarre doll and placed it at the bottom of their garbage, which was taken out on garbage day. They went on a trip shortly after, but when they returned, Elsa too had come back and was waiting in the backyard of their home. This time, the family mailed Elsa to a family friend in Minnesota who taped the haunted doll to the front bumper of his truck. It doesn't seem to have made its way back to Houston yet, as per the mother's latest Facebook post about the creepy doll in February. Deadly Exorcism. In August 2016 in North London, 26-year-old Kennedy began acting strange and aggressive following a pain in his throat. He reportedly bit his father, threatened to cut off his own penis, and complained of a python or snake inside of him before his family restrained him to a bed with cable ties and excessive force. As the BBC reported, the family then set about attempting to cure Kennedy through restraint and prayer over the next 3 days, the court was told. His brother Colin told police, "It's clear that thing was in him. What we believed was a demon because it was not natural. It was clearly trying to kill him," he said. "We had to restrain him for himself. It was clear if we didn't restrain him, he could have tried to harm people in our family." Kennedy had been bound to his bed for 3 days without medical attention when his brother called emergency services, explaining that Kennedy was complaining of dehydration. He appeared to have developed breathing issues and was pronounced dead at 10:17 a.m. As The Independent reported, while police were at the house, Colin allegedly carried out an attempted resurrection by chanting and praying for the deceased. All 7 of Kennedy's family members were accused of manslaughter, false imprisonment, and causing or allowing the death of a vulnerable adult. A post-mortem examination revealed over 60 wounds, including a possible bite on Kennedy's body, and his father, Kenneth, along with 4 of his brothers, sustained injuries as well. The BBC reported, Kenneth told jurors he ordered his sons to take shifts and use overwhelming force, but denied that an association with cults, occults, and secret societies played any part in the death. After a 4-day jury deliberation, all 7 family members were cleared of charges on March 14, 2019. Dead animals in the walls. When the Bretzes family decided to insulate their home in Auburn, Pennsylvania in 2015, they discovered that it had already been with scores of dead animal carcasses. As Fox reported, the dead animals were wrapped in newspaper from the 1930s and 40s and were among half-used spices and other items. After removing the items, they sent hundreds of artifacts and carcasses to an expert in Kutztown. The expert attributed the rotting animals in their walls to powwow or Dutch magic, a ritual originating in the culture of the Pennsylvania Dutch to treat ailments and gain physical and spiritual protection. The Pennsylvania Dutch were a group of German-speaking settlers to Pennsylvania in the 1600s and 1700s, and are often of Lutheran, Mennonite, or Amish faith. Washington Post notes on the magic. Many of the spells deal with the care of livestock, finding water, and the treatment of minor ailments reflecting the condition and concerns of early American settlers. But powwow also has within it a tradition of darker spells, and even of such things as conjuring demons. One notable ritual in their tradition is this hex, to create loyalty in a dog. To attach a dog to a person, provided nothing else was used before to effect it, try to draw some of your blood and let the dog eat it along with his food, and he will stay with you. Mold found on the rotting carcasses in the home had caused illnesses among the family members, and they say that the odor hasn't gone away.